Alrighty, so while the game between Tigres versus FC Cincinnati is not finished, in fact, there's actually still about 13 minutes before the end of the game. But let's be honest, as we'll talk about that game in just a bit, it's over. That game is over. It's an absolute meltdown that once again we see with MLS team against Liga MX opponent down in Mexico, and free space is definitely disappointing. I mean, this is something I've said almost every single year when it comes to MLS team playing against Liga MX opponent. And while there's been some good stories that we've seen in over the years, at the end of the day, free space is always going to be disappointing, and it feels like we're once again at a stage of another year where this is kind of the time when MLS team once again fail against Liga MX opponent. And we start off with the first game that is kind of the case. Though I will say that in this game, it wasn't really kind of a meltdown that the Sounders had against Cruz Azul maybe until late in this one. Seattle was kind of in this game for a long time. They were actually just one goal away, even when they found themselves 1-0 down for majority of the game, and did show some fight back at least late in this one to make it interesting. But ultimately, the free space is definitely imminent, and the meltdown will always happen with MLS team against Liga MX opponent down in Mexico, and it just happened late in this one, and why the scoreline really was a little bit much more inflated than what this actual game actually happened. But in the first half, 2 minutes in, Reagan would heads it wide from the corner. And not to mention the other thing I want to mention about the Sounders, Murphy Law was hitting hard on this Sounders team. Like everything that could go wrong for the Sounders in this game against Cruz Azul happened in this one. But I also want to mention the camera angle. Yeah, it basically felt like it was coming from the moon. I mean, it was kind of crazy to see how high the camera angle is. It's almost like you're watching this from a nosebleed seat. I can barely see the players because of how high the camera angle that is. But in the fifth minute, Morris would topo it wide from close range. As I thought the Sounders actually were the better team. They looked like they were up for it at least in the early bit of this game, though that would change relatively quick because Cruz Azul started to get into this game. It's almost like Cruz Azul kind of gives the Sounders a little bit of a false belief that maybe they can continue to do what they did last time at the Estadio Olímpico Universidad, which they were able to get a massive 2-2 draw against Pumas. But yeah, Cruz Azul definitely took over this game. The Sounders, they were started to look very sloppy with the possession, and that would kind of be the theme throughout the entire game. Sepulveda would then hit it wide from close, as that was Cruz Azul's first shot, and then Rivera would put it into the side netting. Sepulveda then puts it high from long range, and then he heads it onto the roof of the net in the 30th minute. But you can definitely see the danger signs there. Cruz Azul was knocking on the door of Seattle once again, not only being on the ropes, but they're just not getting the ball whatsoever because they keep turning the ball over in their own half. Bogusz would then puts it high on the chip from close range, but then in the 33rd minute, the inevitable happened as Cruz Azul finally score after all the pressure that they generate. It's Carlos Rodriguez scoring from POV to give Cruz Azul a 1-0 lead, and then it was almost 2-0 when Sepulveda was in on goal there, but he blasted that one high. So already almost we saw a classic example of an MLS team just simply buckle once they can see the goal against a Liga MX opponent. But I also thought that the Sounders were all over the place, and they're probably lucky not 2-0 down, and they're maybe will be pretty lucky the fact that they can actually ride this into halftime with just being down 1-0 in this game. There was a shout for a penalty for oh oops, I actually wrote the wrong team here. Not for Columbus, but actually for Cruz Azul. That is. Let me just change that. Again, I did the board as I was watching watching the Tigres versus Cincinnati game, so I kind of mixed up both of these games. I mean, keep in mind both of these games were actually happening at the same time as well. So yeah, obviously there's going to be some mixed up on that. But then in the 41st minute, we had a VAR look to see whether or not if Christian Rodon his challenge on Rodriguez is deemed a red card. And I gotta say, I think Christian Rodon kind of got a little fortunate in this play, and I do kind of agree what Stu Holden said about it. I know that there's always this misconception of, well, if you get the ball, it doesn't matter how egregious the challenge it is, you can get away with that. Well, no, that is exactly not what happened. Just because you get the ball, if you still follow go through with a studs up challenge like what we see in this play, that's usually is deemed a red card. Now, obviously, I think at the end of the day, as the reason why this is not a red card is because in CONCACAF we have seen even more egregious challenge that it's not giving a red card than that, and even in the age of VAR, I guess maybe that is the case. Though one thing I will say is that it feels like MLS team always get hard done by this, and it's kind of weird the fact that for once an MLS team actually got the benefit of doubt because of it. And yeah, Christian Rodon very lucky the fact that he was on the pitch. Though to be fair, I think if you ask any Sounders fan after watching his performance, yeah, they probably were hoping he was not on the pitch in this one because yeah, he did not play very well in this game whatsoever, and pretty much almost the entire Sounders team just did not play very well at all in this game whatsoever. And then it makes things worse just a couple of minutes later, as there was a huge concern after Ariola went down with a serious knee injury, and you can clearly hear the pain. He was kind of lying down right near the field mic. I wish they could have just shut off that field mic because yes, we get it. We get he's in pain. You don't have to really kind of drive it through with us hearing the pain that he is in. But yeah, let's just hope that he is okay because that it looks like a really serious knee injury. And what a shame it has to be because Paul Ariola, he's been battling with so many injuries throughout his career, and this might be another latest setback of it if it indeed is a serious knee injury. I mean, I don't want to say it's the A injury, and it might not even be the A injury. It might even be just it could be a broken leg that Ariola just suffered. But yeah, it's definitely not looking good, and let's just hope that it's nothing serious. And if it is serious, I really wish Paul Ariola a speedy recovery. I mean, after his career is done, there's no doubt that I'm going to do a career video about Paul Ariola and how he's one of those guys that while he's definitely one of the better player to ever play in MLS and have play multiple games with the U.S. men's national team. You just kind of wonder with all the injuries that he's suffered throughout his career, not only showing that tenacity that he can bounce back from coming back from serious injury, but you just kind of feel like if he didn't suffer those injuries, he could have been much better player than he is already are. But yeah, again, hopefully it's not a serious injury, and just hope that if it is a serious injury, wish him a very good speedy recovery. But we do head to halftime with Cruz Azul leading 1-0, and that's probably lucky for the Sounders because Cruz Azul would have easily been up 2 or 3-0 up to this point. In the second half, Rivera puts it high from long range, pretty much like the first half, where the Sounders had trouble getting any possession. It was kind of the case again in the second half. Cruz Azul was continue to have more of the possession, looking for the second goal. Ferreira would then skies one from point blank, and that was the chance for Jesus Ferreira and the Sounders. I mean, we know the Sounders are not going to get a lot of chances, and when you are given that golden opportunity like that, you have to bury it. And I'm pretty sure Jesus Ferreira and the Sounders know it because at that point, not only that was a chance for the Sounders, but that is definitely one that not only could be costly, but we might as well we'll say it's going to be costly. It could be a big difference of them not moving on into the next round. And then to make matters even worse, and again, as I said, it feels like Murphy Law was in place for the Sounders in this one because Jordan Morris had to be subbed off after he pulled a hammy there as Maswowski replace him. And yeah, like I said, just Murphy Law being up to the Sounders, everything that could go wrong for the Sounders have gone wrong in this game with player uh, going out, dropping like flies with injuries and also things that 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 kind of gone wrong for them in this game. To to them not be able to move on to the next round is exactly what we're seeing up to this point. But the shots were 16-5 in favor of Cruz Azul up to that point, and then there was a penalty that was given to Cruz Azul after a rough rock brought down a in the box there. Yeah, that was not a great moment there for Paul Rothrock. You know that the Sounders are not playing well when even Paul Rothrock, who has been a sturdy player for this Sounders team, are making mistakes like that. And here comes Sofovia, a chance to bury to make it 2-0, and he does. So yeah, up to this point, I was kind of thinking about not even pay too much attention to this game anymore because anytime when that happens, yeah, I know the meltdown would begin. However, In the 75th minute, Muswaski at least kind of gave me a little bit of interest back to this game because he scored here to make it 2-1 in this one, and it kind of came after there was a chaos in the box. The Cruz Azul goalkeeper Mir didn't really do a good job punching this one away, and hey, the Sounders took advantage of it. And you're thinking maybe, just maybe, they can do something special. I mean, they did this last time playing against Pumas at the Universidad Olímpico of coming back from a 2-0 deficit. Maybe the Sounders can do it again. Well, the former LAFC player Bogusz tried to end that chance, but he puts it high from long range. Fry then denied Bogusz, but Rodriguez gets a second opportunity, but he blasts that one high. But then in the 85th minute, this was pretty much the final nail in the coffin as Bizana would score to make it 3-1 in favor of Cruz Azul. That came from a really bad turnover from the Sounders, and most specific the who was it? I forgot who exactly what was it that turned the ball over, but either way, it's just a bad turnover from the Sounders in your own half, and they were rightfully punished because of it. And then just 2 minutes later, Sanchez would then score from Rodriguez to kind of drive the knife even deeper into what already is a gaping wound that the Sounders have suffered throughout this game. And yeah, in the end, another typical kind of game where we see an MLS team just completely fell flat in their face against the Liga MX opponent. The shots in this one, 21 shots for the five the Sounders had, one shot on goal for the five that Cruz Azul had, seven shots off target for the two that the Sounders had, two shots that was blocked for the eight that Cruz Azul has, and possession-wise, 60% possession compared to the 40% possession that the Sounders has in this game. And now, the big concern about the Sounders, usually when I talk about an MLS team exiting in this competition. Obviously, it's gonna be disappointing, but at least now they can focus on league play and don't have to worry about too much. Well, the big concern about this is that not only they suffer this big loss against the Liga MX team in the CONCACAF Champions Cup, but now you add to the fact that there's injuries that could be played. I mean, that just feels like it's a double whammy that the Sounders had. And for Jordan Morris, I think he should be back for this team. I think there was no doubt that when he pulled a hammy like that, Brian Schmetzer was just trying to take precautions, so maybe he could be ready in about a week or two. You can't say the same thing about Paul Arriola. That injury seems like it could be a serious injury, and he could be out for a bit. And keep in mind, they already do not have De La Vega as well after he suffered the injury against LAFC over the weekend as well. Now, moving on in terms of the next game, and now kind of talk in a more positive tone because yeah, I know it's kind of sucks once again talking about MLS team just dropping like flies against Liga MX's opponent in Mexico, but at least there is one match that we won't have to kind of be the person to talk about the sad event of MLS team losing to Liga MX's opponent because we have an all MLS affair that we saw in this game between Columbus and LAFC. And all I have to say about this game is that man, oh man, LAFC almost choked away this game. Like they were literally inches away from choke for this game, and I'll tell you why exactly. Why they were inches of potentially blowing a big 3-0 advantage heading into this one against Columbus. Now, early on, there was no commentator to start this game, and I actually like it, the fact that there was no commentator. Not saying that the commentary are bad when it comes to some of these games, but sometimes, yeah, it would be way better if I just don't hear the commentator and hear the atmosphere of the stadium because it just kind of feels like you're at the game when you don't hear the commentator commentating games. But the other thing that was very noticeable, it was a very empty stands inside lower.com field. Again, this is probably similar to what we saw with LAFC, where this game was not part of the season ticket package, and not only the fact that season ticket holder will have to pay to attend this game, but because this game is on a Tuesday, it's also a late kickoff as well. 8:30 p.m. is pretty late for a Tuesday kickoff, and the fact that this Crew team is already down 3-0 against LAFC. That's not really going to generate a lot of casual to attend this game. Only the sickos would attend this game, and I applaud the sickos that attend this game, and also at least the Nordecker was still relatively full, despite the fact that you can definitely see a lot of empty seats around lower.com field. But 2 minutes in, the first shot of the game did see Bawanga hits it right to Schulte before Arfson would put it wide from close range, as that was the Crew first shot. Rossi would then hit it wide from close, and I thought Columbus was on the front foot. They were pressing for the opening goal. That was kind of expected because you kind of had a feeling LAFC was going to do something similar like they did in the first leg. They're just going to sit back and try to hit on the transition. Well, it didn't quite work out because 10 minutes into this game, Columbus get one of the free goals back as Jason Russell Rome can continue his great goal scoring uh run in the beginning of the season from Rossi to make it 1-0 in favor of the Crew. And after that, it was continue unrelentless pressure by the Columbus Crew. LAFC just simply not only can't get out of their own half, but at times couldn't even get out off their own third as well. And this is exactly not the start that Steve Carell will want with this LAFC team. I mean, yes, you have a massive 3-0 advantage heading into this one, but the last thing you want is to give up a goal early and to give faith that Columbus can come back from this. And I even said it before in the first leg, as much as yes, it's a 3-0 deficit, it's a tall mountain to climb, you can never discount this Wilfred Nancy team. And I think in this game, it just kind of shows you that, yeah, it doesn't matter. They're how big of an aggregate score you have against Columbus. If you don't finish them off or just really put them out of reach and heading into the second leg, like think you can easily move on into the next round. Yeah, think again because yeah, this performance by Wilfred Nancy is a very typical Wilfred Nancy kind of performance. But that being said, Martinez would puts it high into the stands as I thought LAFC did kind of survive the Crew pressure as they were now looking to try to restore their free goal lead and maybe even tie the game up at this point. Rossi then puts it high from long range before Russell Rowe puts it wide from close in the 36th minute. But then in the 40th minute, the penalty was given to Columbus as Segura would handball this one in the box, which allowed Diego Rossi to score from the penalty spot, and he buries it. Now, obviously, he immediately got the ball back, so obviously no celebration whatsoever. Not to mention trying to get this game back on as quick as possible. But I'm pretty sure secretly, he's not gonna celebrate when he's scoring against his former team. Like that, but nevertheless, it was 2-0 in favor of Columbus, and all of a sudden, if you thought that the belief is not there from Columbus in the beginning of this game. Now the belief is definitely there. And if you're LAFC, this is the last thing you want to all of a sudden give Columbus not only hope in this game, giving up an early goal, but also giving up right on the stroke of halftime because now the momentum was all with this Crew team. And we head to halftime with Columbus leading 2-0. And in the second half, again, Columbus continued to press for that third goal. First, it was Arfston puts it wide from close range. Columbus continued to have possession as they were pushing to try to tie the aggregate. Martinez, did puts it wide from long range in the 53rd minute, and then a bit of a concern for Columbus as Steven Moreira had to be subbed off with a hamstring injury, so Gilberto replaced him. It's a good thing that, even with the loss of Moreira, they don't really lose too much in Gilberto, who has done relatively well, even when he is in there to replace Steven Moreira. But still, it is a big loss for this Columbus team, especially the presence that Steven Moreira can bring to this attack. Besides the defensive presence that he has. Speaking of attacking presence, Mo Farsi would put the wide on the doorstep of goal, and actually that probably should have been a corner because Lloris actually got a touch toward that, but the ref says it's a goal kick. This is not the first time we have seen this happen. We have actually seen this happen a lot in the CONCACAF Champions Cup this year. But there was no doubt the Crew was pushing hard for this third goal. And if you're LAFC, this is going to be the longest 30 minutes that they're going to have not only this season, but probably for a while because they are just defending for their life to try to hold on to the one goal fringe aggregate lead. In the 62nd minute, Shaburko would hit it right to Lloris before Nagby would do the same thing just 2 minutes later. And then in the 66th minute, Lloris absolutely robbed Arfston on the doorstep of goal. And this is where I talked about earlier of this was literally a game of inches of LAFC almost choking this game because that ball actually looked like it crossed the line, but they did show the replay twice in this game, and yeah, looks like somehow, someway, Lloris was able to save that one off the line. I have no idea how he was able to save that off the line. Like Arfston had basically a tap in there to score. And the fact that Lloris was able to save that off the line, just to show you how much they miss Hugo Lloris in this game, because I'm pretty sure if it was a certain goalkeeper that gave up 5 goals against Seattle over the weekend, that probably wouldn't that certain goalkeeper probably wouldn't save that. But there was no doubt that LAFC, if it was they weren't on a tightrope before, they're on a razor in Rome right now, because yeah, they were just inches away of blowing this 3-0 lead, and Columbus just inches away to tie this game up. But they don't give up. Columbus. Chambos would then puts it wide from long range before Bawanga would puts it wide from close. And this is also a quick reminder, if you're Columbus, as much as you're pushing pretty much everyone forward as the Wilfred Nancy team does, this really plays right into the favor of LAFC, because all LAFC need is just that one counter attack, and they could have a chance to score a goal and really maybe put this two-leg affair out of reach. Now, to be fair, Columbus has done a great job up to this point, not really even allowing a sniff of LAFC going on the counter attack. Though that being said, in the 76th minute, Amundsen would puts it wide from long range off of a deflection, and really as the time winds down, again, LAFC was started to just completely park the bus. I mean, if they haven't parked the bus before, they pretty much have now. They're pretty much putting everybody back that was trying to suffocate this Crew team when it comes to not really attacking in the middle. Though Lloris did deny Chambols from close in the third minute of stoppage time, but then in the fifth minute of stoppage time, Bawanga calls game. He scored from his under to give LAFC not only the goal to pretty much put this game out of reach, but also at least get a goal back in terms of the overall score of this game. And by the way, Chungus Unda making his debut in LAFC, and safe to say it's pretty much a successful debut with him getting an assist on the chart here. But yeah, that was kind of the one time when LAFC really caught Columbus on the counter attack, and it's only fitting the fact that it finally happened when Columbus pretty much was putting all out attack late in this one. But nevertheless, LAFC, they survive a scare in this one. I mean, it was looking very daunting heading into the second half with that 1 goal aggregate lead, but they survive. They move on into the next round to most likely facing against Inter Miami in the quarterfinal. And I say most likely, not to disrespect Cavalier, but most likely you would assume Inter Miami should be able to win that second leg, right? I mean, you assume that they should be able to beat that team again, or at least keep that aggregate lead, even when they're going to Jamaica, which pretty much not only it's a sold out crowd in that one, but I'm pretty sure about 90% of the people are there to hope to see the GOAT play in person. But the shots in this one, 22 shots for the 8 that LAFC had, 3 shots on goal for the 7 that Columbus had, 6 shots off target for the 3 that LAFC had, 9 shots that was blocked for the 1 that LAFC had, and possession-wise, 69% possession compared to 31% possession that LAFC has in this game. And now, finally, we're going to be switching the board and look at the other disastrous class in the meltdown that we see an MLS team against a Liga MX opponent down in Mexico. So now moving on to talk about the other disastrous class of a game that MLS team faced against Liga MX opponent is FC Cincinnati versus Tigres. Now, what's kind of interesting about this game is the fact that Cincinnati actually had the lead in this game, and in fact, they were actually looking really good in the first half of this game and would really just kind of stifle this relatively good Tigres attack. And then the second half happened. Yeah, the second half is a half where not only Tigres figured out the Cincinnati back line, but they once they score a goal to tie the aggregates, you knew that Tigres was going to run away with this one. I mean, we've seen it so many times with MLS team. Once they can see a goal against Tigres down in El Volcan, once that the volcano erupt, yeah, for MLS team they're just pretty much going to be buried under lava 6 foot down after that. Now, in the first half, Salatano would deny Ibanez from close range. That actually came off a bad turnover from Cincinnati, and they got away with that one because, yeah, it's not very often Tigres doesn't take advantage of turnover, and maybe Cincinnati was lucky the fact that it happened early in the game, because I'm pretty sure Tigres were not warmed up to this point. But for the most part, they did a good job, at least limiting the chances. Only one shot for both of these teams early in this one. And besides that one mistake that Cincinnati has, they done well defensively against this Tigres team. Ibanez would then puts it wide from long range. The first shot for Cincinnati, see Guzman denying Denki as the flag came up. So actually, technically, that's not the first shot for Cincinnati because that attacking sequence didn't count. But the first shot for Cincinnati and the actual first shot for Cincinnati is in the back of the net as Evander would score from Oriano to give Cincinnati a 1-0 lead. Yeah, Lucas Oriano was causing all sorts of problem for this Tigres team, not only in the first half, but in the beginning of the second half as well. But there was no doubt that Cincinnati, after that goal, they started to congest the midfield, not really allowing Tigres any space to operate. And this is where you start to see Tigres start getting a little frustrated. They just simply cannot solve this Cincinnati defense. Aquino would then hits the side netting from close range. There was a shout for a handball for Cincinnati, not given. By the way, there was also a shout for a penalty for Tigres, not given in the 25th minute. Brunetto hits one right to Saotano. The shots were 4 free for Tigres, but again, for the most part, Tigres were not really threatening going forward. They weren't really doing very well in terms of the final ball, and part of that is credit to the fact that Cincinnati did a really good job defensively setting things up. There was another shout for a PK for Tigres that was not given, and as the halftime whistle was sound, there was a loud chorus of boos from the Tigres supporter at Alvacon, and rightfully so too, because this was probably one of the worst performance that Tigres play at home against an MLS team in the CONCACAF Champions Cup. I mean, they just does not look like the Tigres that we've seen in the past, and you're thinking maybe Cincinnati is gonna do what Columbus did last year. Maybe the tide was going to turn, right? No, because in the second half, this is when Tigres woke up, and whatever their new head coach Guido Pizarro said at halftime to fire up the team, it definitely worked out because it was pretty much night and day to saw what we saw with Tigres attack in the second half compared to what we saw in the first. But like the first half, again, Tigres had most of the possession as Cincinnati looked to sit deep and stay disciplined defensively. Celtano would then deny Ibanez in the near post. And this is kind of where I started to see how the tempo and the tie is really turned into Tigres' favor. And even Mo Adu mentioned that as well. The fact that, yeah, Tigres was definitely looking much more frisk going forward on the attack. They were moving the ball much faster and finding gaps against the Cincy defense that, it's one thing to, of course, defend throughout the game, but it's another when you have to defend almost the whole game against a Liga MX opponent. It's almost impossible to do so, and you can kind of sense that fatigueness was starting to catch up to the Cincinnati defense as the pressure was really mounting on the Cincinnati team. In fact, it also doesn't help the fact that Alvocon was started to really get loud and was really boiling, and it was ready to erupt once Tigres F score, and it feels like Tigres definitely feed off that crowd again because Alvocon erupted in the 64th minute. It started with Herrera scoring from Brunetta to tie the game up at one apiece. 5 minutes later, he would score from Herrera to make it 2-1 in this game, and then just a couple of minutes later, Ibanez would score from Gorian. Originally, the goal was disallowed for offside. They go to VAR to check whether or not if that is the case. It is not. So just like that, in a span of 8 minutes, Tigres went from being 1-0 down in this game and 2-1 down in aggregates to pretty much put this game out of reach. That's how quick things can change, and that's how quick free space disappointment is for MLS team, and the meltdown not only has begun for Cincinnati, but pretty much complete for this team. You just simply cannot let an opponent like Tigres getting one goal back and expect to just kind of hold on for the rest of the game. And you also notice I didn't write notes after that because, as I mentioned in the beginning of the video, I pretty much switched off this game by the time when the third goal was scored. I knew there was no chance that Cincinnati was going to come back from this game, and alas, that of course is the case as Tigres is moving on into the next round, winning 4-2 in the aggregate score, winning 3-1 overall in the scoreline. The shots in this one, 14 shots for the 6 that Cincinnati has, 2 shots on goal compared to the 8 that Tigres had, 3 shots off target for the none that Cincinnati has, 4 shots that was blocked for the 3 that Tigres had, and possession-wise, 67% possession compared to the 33% possession that Cincinnati has in this game. And I would say that at least Cincinnati did much better job compared to what we saw with the Sounders, where the Sounders, for the most part, was kind of almost not in it in the game against Cruz Azul, even though there were times where there were one goal from being back into the tie, because at least Cincinnati did a good job in terms of stopping Tigres for 45 minutes. But if there's one thing we learned from previous kind of experience with MLS play against the Liga MX side, especially playing against Tigres down in Mexico. If you don't get an advantage, you might as well just come to the conclusion that the second leg is pretty much over. The Liga MX team is always going to win. It's almost like one in 10 times where we don't see that happen. And unfortunately, you can kind of say the same thing maybe about Vancouver heading into their second leg game against Rayados because yeah, Vancouver, even though they play relatively well in that game against Rayados, and the same you can say about Cincinnati, they play relatively well against Tigres in the first leg. Don't win against a Liga MX opponent at home, especially when you have to play the second leg down in Mexico. It's almost impossible for you to move on. That's just kind of how the reality it is, and yeah, we'll see. Again, I know feel like I'm already kind of giving up on the Whitecaps chance, even though that game has been played. But I've just seen the story happen so many times, and I'm pretty much ready for free space disappointment once again tomorrow as well. Though at least the good news about tomorrow, well, I'm not sure if this is good news, but there still could be a chance that we might see an MLS team move on. We'll see whether or not if the Galaxy can do something against Heredano, and especially if the Galaxy can play something similar to they did against St. Louis. Besides the defensive mistake, I do think they have a chance to move on against Heredano. But yeah, that Whitecaps and Rayados game that definitely looks very bleak, and I would not be surprised we could see something different from or something similar in that game compared to what we saw in this one, and also what we saw with the Seattle versus Cruz Azul game. But there you have it. That is pretty much it for joining me on this kind of funeral kind of night when it comes to MLS team once again getting blasted by Liga MX opponent down in Mexico. But yeah, either way, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure to leave a like, smash the subscribe button. As always, let me know in the comments below what do you think of these free games. And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys next time.